love these books. I wish I had more. Hi, how are we today? Welcome to Literary Gladiators. It's the show where today I get to discuss and, well, actually not really, because today is my first book haul. I haven't done a book haul before. I'm so happy. We went to the book garden. I had a great time. Josh is a very, very awesome driver. You know I could be a pain in the neck in the back sometimes, but we had a great time. Cayce was awesome. But the bookstore alone, my God, this was my first time I ever went in there, and obviously you've probably seen our review, and if you haven't, take a look at it. It's really worth your while. And for my first time going in there, I left completely changed. Sadly, I couldn't buy too much because I didn't know what the prices were, and I only had about $20 or $30, so I didn't know. I had to limit myself. Sadly, I had 3 books. One I actually donated to a school that I went to. I don't remember the title offhand. I grabbed it. It looked really good, and I read it, and I'm like, "This is a really good book." But I forgot what it was. But I'll try and get that up, and maybe in a separate video, or we'll just attach the link to it on the bottom. Josh, Ari, and the rest of them are great like that. But these 2 books in particular, you can't take them out of my hands. One is Edgar Cayce or however you say, however you want to pronounce his names, on Angels, Archangels, and the Unseen Forces. And this book, it was $4, and right now I'm only on chapter 2, going on chapter 3. It's I read the whole introduction. From what I've read so far, I want to finish this book in a night. And yeah, actually, I'm going on I'm going on chapter 3. No, chapter 4. Yeah, the Archangel Michael. This is always open interpretations and whatnot, but the writer, Robert J. Grant's research, and this is about people who have had near-death experiences. I have not had one, but people who do have these always come back, and usually a lot of them have the same thing about the other side. Sometimes stories will contradict each other, depending. But a lot of it is usually, 99% of the time, is usually the same. And I have a friend who has had one. It's life-changing, he told me. And he's a better person for it. This book here is about it centers mostly on this Edgar Cayce, or Cayce. So it's he was known as and he was in the 1800s. And this is when you never spoke about anything about this. You don't talk about that. You don't say, "Daddy, I see angels," because his father was really not the nicest person. We're always on him for his schoolwork, but there's more to it. I'm going to get onto that in a minute. This book, right off the bat, gets a 5 out of 5, because even though I'm going on to chapter 3 now. And, I read it. I read about half of it, but I couldn't get to the rest of it, unfortunately. That's my bad, but I got to go back and reread, and I just loved, and I learned so much about this. And I've read other books like this, and I think I even mentioned that in the video when we were at the book garden, that I've read about some of these, and how I've found comfort from people I've known who have crossed over. Michael the Archangel, he is, in many religions, he's the one who tossed Satan out of heaven. When he disobeyed, he's like, "You know what, you, get out of here. You're not going to listen, so get the heck out of here." But this is not, I'm not going to go into cannot talk today. Usually that's a good thing. But, I'm not going to go into any, theology and things like that. I'm just going to keep it, to this. But he's always, known as the most powerful saint, like right under God. And God, we know who he is. Don't get him angry, because you'll get it in the neck. But he's the protector, and in a lot of religions, of the peacekeepers Obviously, for us, most of the world is Christian, Catholics, whatnot. Good amount of the world, and even some of the Jewish faith. He's known as the protector of police, police, military, paratroopers, and I think emergency medical technicians. I think we all have our own, but still. And like I said, I learned a lot about the afterlife, more than I have in any other book, and I've read about 12 of them so far. This is 13, lucky 13, and this Edgar, his mom knew he was a little odd, and I say odd in a good way, because from a very small age, very young age, he could see the dead. He could see spirits, and he would say, "Hey, Mom," he said, I see dead people." Not exactly how, I'm not referring to the movie, but that's basically how he said. He's like, "Mom, I see people who are supposed to be dead." Long story short, his mom accepts that, and a lot of people say, "Your son's he's got a gift going on there. We don't know if that's a hearsay or this or that," but he was known as the sleeping prophet or the sleeping angel. Miracle worker. He's not an angel. He was, he's just an ordinary person, and, didn't do so well in school. But when he grew up to be a really good healer, and when I say really good, according to this book, he came back from school one day, and he read the Bible. He loved the Bible. He read the Bible front to back, literally, and he did it again and again, and he memorized it. But he couldn't spell simple words in school. And he came home one day, he couldn't spell the word cabin. And the teacher made him write it on the chalkboard 500 times. Okay, that's a little harsh, but back then, it was either or on the board. Bart Simpson, but still. He went home. His father hounded the literal heck out of him. We're going to stay up all night until we get this right. And he was begging his father, "I need 5 minutes, Dad. Please give me just 5 minutes. I need a quick break," and And his father eventually relented and said, "Okay, I'll give you a little bit of time." I'm using 21st century terms here, but the teacher spoke to his father that they said the son's not doing too good. He's a great student so far, but he's now starting to wax and wane. People started to, once they found out about his gift, he met an angel when he was reading this Bible one day. He went off into the woods, secluded. He had his own little area. I think he was about 12 at the time. And for males, that's usually the time of puberty, and voice gets deep, shoulders broaden, and a few other things happen. But he still kept on to this. He met, like I said, according to the book here, he met an angel, and he said, "You must be my guardian angel." He couldn't believe his eyes. He literally couldn't believe his eyes. And she said, "What is it that you want to do in life?" And he said to himself, he couldn't talk for a moment. He could not talk. He was paralyzed with, I wouldn't say fear, but he was paralyzed. But he was able to muster the words, "I want to help people, especially children and the sick." And he did. He saw this angel appear to him. Apparently his guardian angel, maybe his helper angel, and he told her he wants to help. When going back, I know I digress, I'm sorry about that. When he went back to do his spelling lessons that night with his father, he said, "I'm going to make you study this entire workbook." And he drilled the kid. He actually punched his son. He screamed and berated him. He basically disowned his child because he had a bad day at school. And usually this was a time period when if your kid came home with anything less than perfect, and that's a lot of people who I've met, through the band I play with, some people say they have great-great-great-grandfathers that, treated them like, not going to say it on camera. And, but still, I digress, and I'm not going to do that. He says, Dad, let me have 5 minutes. And he does. He puts, and the angel instructed him to do this. Tell your dad you need a few minutes. Put your head on the book. Take a break. He does that. Dad comes back in, shakes the kid. He's like, get up. Spell the word cabin. C-A-B-I-N. We did this all night. What's wrong with you? Then he goes to the hardest word in the book, which I forgot was, I forgot what it was actually. But it was a very difficult word, and he spelled it just like that. I think it was thesaurus, something. It was a very 4 syllables, and for 12-year-olds, at that time, well, we should all know how to spell thesaurus, but he spelled it, and I don't think that was the actual word, but it was a word, thesaurus. It's 3 syllables, but still, I told you I didn't do well in math. Anyway, he spelled the word perfectly. Does it again and again. He's like, and his dad says to him, why? He said, I don't know. And then I guess he told his father, and his father sent him to bed. He's like, oh, just go to bed. Just go to bed. You disowned the family. Okay, fine. Later, he grows up, and he's known as what they call the sleeping healer. He would literally heal people in his sleep. And one case, he went to bed. I mean, there were doctors present, and some people were skeptical. And at one session, they all left, and he had a doctor who worked with him, and he was the one who would speak. Literally, he would diagnose problems. People would literally line up at his front door and say, "My son or my daughter is sick," and he healed a little girl one day from. They said all the doctors said she has the flu, and yesterday I got my shot. But anyway, my daughter has a flu, but she can't walk. We don't know what this is, and the doctors actually said we're going to give up on her. Long story short, he says, "Let me go to sleep with my doctor," and he was also the scribe. And he would go to sleep, and he would say in his sleep, literally, he would talk in his sleep, in terms of he would use words medical, like he was a medical dictionary, and he would say things like, "I am now asleep," and I guess he would see the problem on the inside. And he said, "It looks like she had a hip fracture when she was 3. Get her to a doctor. They can do a, I don't think they had X-ray back then, or if they did, it was not as good as today. But what happens is they take her to that next doctor, and next thing they know, she's walking, she grows up, she becomes a very fine young lady." Okay, that's how he got most of his notoriety. One day he gets sick, he can't talk. He went a whole year without speaking. And it just, and eventually he got it back. And I don't know I don't remember the whole rest of that, but the book mostly centers on, like I said, on Edgar. It's most, but he did get his voice back, and he was 21 at the time, and he was going to get married. He had his fiancée, and I guess it was, I remember why. It was stress. He had a lot of stress going on. And of course, before you get married, there's a lot of stress going on, no matter what. This, that, and the other thing. But he couldn't talk. And he couldn't do his work. And he actually thought about giving it up. He's like, you know what, I think I met my calling. But then once I think he cured that little girl, he's like, nope, not giving it up. But other than that, the book, 5 out of 5. Great read if you need closure for anything. Right? I grabbed this because it was literally just sitting right in front of me. And I will just flat out say it, I am not a psychic. I am not I'm not somebody who sees shadows in the night. That's a little reference there if you're like the 80s music. So, this next book I want to talk about, and I'm not going to spend as much time on it as I want to, but John Paul II, who is now Saint John Paul II, a pictorial celebration. My aunt was a nun 50 years. I made mention to this on the show before. And in her Bible there's a picture of him. I think he wouldn't, no, he was, yeah, he was, this same picture. And the copyright is 1980. There is a lot of, this actually goes into about the Pope, you know, Pope Paul the Sixth, 1963 to 1978. He was, you know, and one of his quotes was, "I close my eyes on this sad, dramatic, and magnificent world, calling God's charity down on it once more." And like I said, a lot of these are black and white. So once he passed, there was another Pope, John, who had only a month. And he was known as the 30-day Pope or whatnot. And, you know, he passed away too. So they have to have a conclave. Usually, with John Paul, he was really well liked. And he still is to this day. He's known as the one who overthrew communism, this, that, and the other. You know, he did a lot. He worked, he lifelong learner, loved kids. He had so many quotes. One of his quotes, which a lot of you probably can relate to, regarding, for me, my character here, stupidity is a gift, but one must not misuse it. And that doesn't mean go out there and be stupid. Sometimes I just can't help it. I walk into doors that don't open. Okay, well, and I guess that was his way of saying, try your best to not be a prick. Excuse my language, but he was very well, and like I say, he was very well liked, and he rose through the ranks real quickly. He was more of a humanitarian, I think. He wanted to help. He was one of the first popes. He was actually the first Polish pope in, I think, over 400 years. And this book goes into detail, copyright 1980. So this is a lot of, here he's accepting a gift, a simple balloon, and he's kissing the balloon. Okay? And up here, he has his arms outstretched, as if to say, I need a break, folks. And it's got captions, and he's going like this. He's asking permission to leave so he can retire for the evening. And, it actually talks about, a little bit about, his family, his official coat of arms is right here. And that's because of his devotion to the Mother Mary, or the Madonna. I saw something, I read this book cover to cover. I read this one and the other book simultaneously that I did a review on. And he grew up in Poland. I'm just giving you a very quick overview of his life. And he worked in the quarry. He suffered a lot. He lost his father when he, came back from, and he was studying underground because they were bombing the cemetery. They were bombing the monasteries and all that. And we know who those people were. We're not going to mention that. So he became a young priest. And then shortly after, he became a bishop. And after becoming a bishop, you become a cardinal. You're eligible to become a cardinal. And they were red. Well, obviously, but... And I think that symbolizes the blood of Christ. I could be wrong. It's open to interpretations here. I'm looking through this book. I'm being selfish here. He has... And throughout the book, it has many quotes. It's, here he's blessing the gifts with incense. And I volunteer at my church and as a lead usher. And there have been times I've had to handle incense. Ouch. On the sinuses, okay? Here he's elevating the host. This is a really popular photo in the book. He was very big on the rosary, stuff like that. And he traveled. He skied also. He loved to ski. Once he became a pope. Anyway, once he was a cardinal, they had the conclave. This is after the other pope died, Pope Paul I. And they picked names, biblical names. And he did not want to do it. he wanted to be an actor, or from his high school. In high school, he was an actor. He, you know, in the school plays, and they all said he's really, really good. This kid's gonna go places. We need to get him an agent. But then, you know, they didn't say we need to get the kid an agent, but you know, he was also first in his class. He still held on to the fact he wanted to be an actor or a playwright, and he was. But then he decided, I think after getting hit by a truck in Germany, or not Germany, in Poland, that's when, you know, I watched the movie from 1984, and he was still the Pope at that time, so I don't know if he got a private screening of that. And I wonder if he got a private screening to the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Disney version, my favorite movie. Soundtrack is awesome, by the way, but still, there's not much more I could say about this book. It goes into great detail. His reign was from 1978 to 2005. Like I said, he traveled all over the world. He went to Philadelphia, New York. He would go to the United Nations, and he would do conferences. And he had a very thick accent. This is another famous photo of him shaving as a young priest. And he was like a children. The children flocked to him. They loved him. And, you know, I can't give this a 5-star. I have to give this a 10-star. So I'm going to have to go on a little ruling here if Josh doesn't mind. I'm sure he's okay with that. If not, I'm sorry. 10-star. And I'm not saying that because it's about religion or the Pope or anything like that. I'm saying that because this book, I'm going to read it again. And just so much about his life and how he knew his whole life, even after he became once he became the Pope, he accepted. He said, I accept this because I have to do this. I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting. I have to do this. This is something I must do, and he did it. And he went in like a lion, out like a lamb. So, basically he got a lot of other people to the church too. He attracted the youth as well. So, this book is all about, you know, his life too, and is mixed in there. I'm also using knowledge from other people's, mostly priests, clergy, deacons, whatnot, nuns. I grew up with the nuns when I was little, with my aunt, and they were always talking about John Paul. And like I said, he's now a saint, John Paul II. He was beatified, I think, in 2012 to 2013. But I know he was beatified. And to become a saint, you have to perform, I think, 2 miracles. I think one in your lifetime and one in the after, like once you are past. But 10 out of 10. There's so much more I want to talk about on this, but there's not enough time. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to Literary Gladiators, and this is my first book haul. So this other book here, there was another book I said I got. I donated it to a school I went to. I'll get the title again. They gave me a list of the books I donated. I got a nice letterhead. Thank you. I didn't get a tax return, but whatever. Hey, anyway. So, this is Charlie's first book haul, and I hope you liked it. Take care. Just keep reading, and don't stop believing.